Good evening. Welcome to PoliticIt podcast. Tonight we have our candidate for governor and the lieutenant governor, so Phil Lyman and Natalie Clawson. Nice to have both of you. We've had a chance to talk to Phil, but haven't had a chance to talk to you, Natalie. Let's just start by talking a little bit about you personally. What got you involved in this, and you know, what's your background?
Oh, thank you. So I grew up in Utah. I'm from Utah County. I live there with my family. I have 5 kids and my husband. We live there. What got me involved? My background, I'm an attorney, and I've done a lot of work with religious freedom issues and things like that. But these last few years, I think a lot of us have watched what's been happening around the country and here locally, and you just can't sit back anymore and see what's happening. So I got involved really heavily in my kids' schools with education policy. I feel a lot of concerns. I have a lot of concerns about what's happening in our schools, and elections has been really important to me. And so I got involved with a statewide initiative to help secure our elections. So that's kind of my background. That's kind of where,
and I know your sisters are real involved on social media and stuff. Well, your whole family really, right?
Right.
And
I've got a great family, so yeah, we're all involved.
Yeah, so tell me, one of the things I've noticed is you've both got pretty strong grassroots effort. What's going on with that, and how did that all come together?
Yeah, that's great. I can talk on that too. I think that there's a lot of people, so the reason that got me into this is because I've seen all these things happening throughout the state and the country, and other people have been seeing that too. And I think that they've looked to Phil Lyman as someone who will stand up and champion those issues. So we've seen parents locked out of school board rooms. He was there to help protect them and represent them. We've seen issues on freedom of speech. He's protected and stood up for those people. So I think as we've gone through the years, people have seen him as a leader on these issues that are important to the people of the grassroots. And then my efforts with the Secure Vote Utah, getting people involved in pushing back on our elections, trying to ask for more transparency, all of these efforts have just gathered more people together, welcomed people up, and people are excited that they have people who will represent them on the state level on these issues that are so important to them.
Well, speaking about that, I just noticed something that's come up with the signature gathering and what's going on down in Washington County. Can you talk just a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, I can take that. So we're concerned because so a few weeks ago, we're running a campaign, so we're doing all we can, focusing on what's important here. But there was a concerned citizen who's looking at the signatures and just requested to have some signatures of a candidate. It was a Don Ipson race down in Washington County, and wanted to have access to those. So he put in a grammar request, and the response came back from the Washington County attorney that said, we know that you have a reason to look into these signatures. These are important, but we can't give them to you because they're under criminal investigation, and so they're not available. So that raised some flags. People looked at that. We were notified that the same company that had gathered for this race in Washington County also gathered for several other candidates throughout the state. And the gatherers, usually they walk around with packets for several candidates. And so another one was relevant for our race, that Spencer Cox was also gathering signatures using that same company. So we felt like that raised concerns that we would like to have access to be able to see these signatures that have been gathered and turned in, and we did a grammar request for that, asking for those signatures. And it's been denied. So we haven't been able to see the signatures. We were told that if we wanted to view them, we would be able to view them at the end of July. So, all these things are just continuing to raise more questions for people, and we're just trying to get some answers here.
So I know I was involved in an effort, on the SB 54, right, and they were gathering signatures, right, for the second round of that. And I know we were able to go in, but we had full access to those. What's going on here? Is the law different on gathering signatures to be a candidate than it is for a voter initiative?
Yeah, and we feel like we have a really strong case that so how our voter rolls work is that we have active voters, we have private voters, and we have withheld voters. And some of that information can be redacted and held back from the public view. But that's for voter rolls. And this is a whole different situation here when you have people who are putting themselves forward to nominate a candidate to be put on the ballot. And this is more comparable to exactly what you're saying, the signature gathering effort, like with the Restore the Flag. I was involved with that, Phil was involved with that. So there's signatures that were gathered for that campaign. Those signatures are currently on the Lieutenant Governor's website, all of them, all 89,000, all withheld, all with private, are all available to be viewed today on the website. But if you ask for a candidate signature, they say, we will not give you access to it. You have to do a grammar request. And if we approve your grammar request, we will redact. And it's up to 40% of the signatures are coming back redacted. So So we never got the report. Others who did get the report, they have 40% of these blank lines that are coming back. It shows the county, but there's no other identifying information. So that's why we walked in on Tuesday. We said, in the meantime, can we just view these documents while you're working through this process? We owe it to the people who are supporting us and that want transparency. We owe it to just be able to see these packets, and we were denied. And that's when they said, even if you want to view the packets, we won't be able to let you do that until end of July because we will redact them. So that's one of our biggest questions, the one that you raised, is why is this being treated so differently? Why is a special situation here for these protecting the candidate's signatures when it's public information everywhere else?
Well, I know in the Ipson race, he didn't turn in enough signatures, right? So he was denied the signature path.
Well, he had enough. He had to have 20. He had to have 2,000. He turned in 2,400, and then after the investigation, they knocked off 600, so he fell below.
Oh, and that's why he had to go to the convention. And he did end up surviving the convention.
Yeah.
So we're not alleging anything. We're just saying there is no transparency. And we've been told, we've had a governor who the last 4 years, anytime people have asked questions, we've been answered back with a giant PR campaign with billboards saying we're the gold standard. If you're asking questions, you're un-American. Even a hit piece on Phil last Sunday from the Trib that said, if you ask questions, then you're a threat to our democracy. All those talking points that we keep hearing. But we're saying, why don't you, if people ask questions, why can't we get data? Why can't you open books? Why can't you show us things? Why is the answer this is PR campaign? And it's making people really frustrated with this process.
Well, and that makes it hard, right? Because now it's like you're a conspiracy theorist, right? And for asking the question.
Well, and I think that goes back to your question about, kind of the movement that's happening, and it's people are tired of being lied to. And they get the feeling that they have been lied to, whether it's through COVID or through climate change or through any of the woke ideology, DEI, all these things that people are saying, we trusted you to do certain things. We trusted you to, tell us the truth about the money behind COVID, and now we're finding out that's not the case. So it creates a movement of people who are saying, we want to change, we want something different, and so the we're the beneficiaries of that movement.
So let's look on, and going back to this movement that's going on with the grassroots. What are some of the positive things that you've seen in terms of your candidacy and what people are saying?
I think people are thrilled that they have someone who will ask these questions and that are standing up and saying, we want transparency. We want to trust our elections. Our vote is so sacred. People have died for this right. We have very patriotic people who absolutely love America, and they want to protect America, and they want to see that our freedoms are protected. And to know that they have a candidate out here who will ask these questions and protect these rights is really, it's waking people up. It's uniting people. People are walking around, they're creating their own flyers, and they're going door to door. It's very spontaneous and very, very grassroots. And so people are excited about this.
So, one of the things I hear a lot from people is they say, well, Lyman doesn't stand a chance, right? Cox is going to get 80% of the vote.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think a lot of people believe that, right? Why? What's your response to that?
Well, when I started feeling like I should run for this position, I talked to a few other people. I saw a vulnerability with Cox because he's not that popular of a person. He's not that likable of a person. He's made some really bad decisions. His using his pronouns, is wanting to appoint the attorney general, things that I think in Utah you cannot expect to get elected when you treat the people like that. Then he comes through at the convention, dismissing all of the delegates, things like that. So as as the narrative keeps coming out, it flies in the face of what people are observing. It's like they're talking to their neighbors, they're talking to, to each other, and they're saying, I don't think Cox is going to win this election. And then his narrative is, oh, well, Phil doesn't stand a chance. Hit pieces, just one, fabricated story after another, and which a few years ago I think people would have been, oh, that's horrible. And people still do that, but a lot of people are like, I'm not buying it. I'm just not buying it. And the polls that are coming out now, Deseret News announced that they're partnering with Harris X. I called the guy that's at the Deseret News and I said, why would you partner with the poll company that's supposed to be an independent poll company? He's like, oh no, it's purely contractual. I sent him the article and he sent back and said, oh yeah, I guess we are partnering with them. So now you've got, it's like a company that it's like the Arthur Anderson debacle of, how about we just buy the CPA firm so they'll give us the opinion on our financial statements that we need. And that's kind of what's happening with Deseret News and Harris X. They're losing credibility. And when the Deseret News, when BYU comes out with the articles, all these things that are supporting Cox, they're actually losing credibility because people are saying that's not what I'm observing with my own two eyes. It's not what I hear.
Well, we're going to take a break, and then we'll come right back, okay?
Okay. Spencer Cox and Colorado Governor Jared Polis are chair and vice chair of the National Governors Association. KUTV News reported that Denver is paying for immigrants to come to Utah. They've shipped 2,000 so far that we know of, and they plan to keep on sending. Are we losing the battle for our borders in Utah? We have two governors disagreeing better while thousands of immigrants are being flown from Denver to Utah. When governors prioritize their own career over what's best for Utah, Utah families lose. I'm Phil Lyman, and I approve this message.
Welcome back to PoliticIt. Again, Phil Lyman, Natalie Clawson, candidates for governor and lieutenant governor. Great to have you. So during the break, we talked a little bit about some major issues you're hearing about in Utah, and one of those is the economy, of course, right?
Yeah.
And the out of control inflation that we have right now.
Yeah.
You want to address that? Just...
Economy is near and dear to my heart. I'm a CPA, small firm in Blanding, Utah, so I deal with people, on a daily basis. They're small businesses. I see the stresses that they have, supply chain issues, inflation, all of those things. But what the narrative has been in Utah is that we've passed the biggest tax cuts in history. Well, we had the Tax Foundation come to the Revenue Tax Committee this last week,
and you sit on that committee.
And I'm on that committee, and I've been telling people, that's not a tax cut. Your taxes have not gone down. I'm sorry, folks. Your property taxes have gone up 55%. But if you're looking for where's my big tax saving, because people look around like, well, other people must be saving a lot of money because I'm not seeing it on my tax bill. And the Tax Foundation confirmed, yeah, because of the federal tax policies, we saw a large increase in adjusted gross income. Since Utah is coupled to the federal return, then you see your taxes go up, whether it's disallowing the dependency exemptions or reducing the depreciation deduction, things like that. And Utah goes lockstep with that. We see the tax go up. We do a cut to offset it. And Tax Foundation said, well, outside of California, Utah's got the highest tax burden of any state in the West. They did do some measures to offset the increase in tax, but less so than most of their neighbors had done. So other states see these things, and so this notion of the biggest tax cut in the history of the state is a misnomer, and we're trying to get that message out. We want people to know us and to know that we're not lying to them. I quoted this in the debate. Thomas Sowell quote said, if you want to help people, tell them the truth. If you want to help yourself, tell them what they want to hear. People in Utah are tired of being told what they want to hear. And the economy is a prime example of that. And that ties into the housing markets, the policies that we're doing that are driving contractors out of the single-family housing building industry into high density or commercial property, government buildings, and it's leaving the single-family home market really underserved. Our corporations are 23 homes that
So is this single-family home thing? It's not just a supply issue, though. I mean, inflation is really...
Yeah, I mean, our policies have driven it. And in the legislature, we've got some really strong development interests at play there. And it's pushing high-density housing, things that are really efficient for contractors to build and subsidies to back them up. But
So what's the solution?
number one is open up some land in Utah. We happen to have quite a bit of land. A lot of it is
Most of it belongs to the federal
most of
government.
it belongs to the federal
At
government.
least under their control, right?
You know, and you've got 150,000 acres of land that's inside city limits that's owned by the federal government. Potentially could be transferred. Mike Lee's got a bill to do just that. Another million
So what is that bill?
the Houses Act. Another 1 million acres on the outskirts of these cities that could be turned over. So you would essentially, if his bill passed, you would double the inventory of land for that we've got right now in Utah. So you double the inventory, and that's not available. That's what we're using right now, a little over 1%. This would give us another 1% of land available for houses, and he's got a proposal there that's kind of along the Homestead Act, which is really, really great. You do that, you get rid of some of the regulations, you get rid of some of the subsidies that are subsidizing low-income housing and commercial properties, and you get back to just a free market approach to building houses.
Well, that's rather novel, isn't it?
It works.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, markets tend to work, don't they?
they do. Yeah.
So now let's talk a little bit about immigration. I know, in the interim committee, first half of the education committee was all about our school districts that are overwhelmed by the number of English learners, right? And so obviously we've got an influx because that's a fast expanding area, and the school districts are overwhelmed. They need more money in that area. So, where are those people coming from, right? And why is that a problem to us?
Well, you've got a deliberate effort to overwhelm states with illegal immigration. And it's got backing from the United Nations, it's got backing from large charities, and they take advantage of states like Utah. They take advantage of us because we're hospitable people. We
love
compassion.
people, right?
We love people. And so that's being used as a weapon against us, to hold us hostage. And we've seen illegal non-citizen immigration to Utah increase so dramatically, and it's because of our policies. Free health care for kids, in-state tuition, driver's licenses with a star on it, not detaining criminal non-citizens longer than 3 days. All of these things earned us a sanctuary state designation by ICE. And so the governor, can go and say anyone that says that is a liar, anyone that says that is deceiving you. People, again, living in the neighborhoods are saying, well, I'm seeing it with my own eyes. I'm watching the buses come in. I'm watching my schools overrun. I'm watching the hospitals, stressed because of this increase. I'm watching the housing market. And then all you have is someone saying, well, don't believe your eyes. Anyone that tells you that this is policy driven is lying to you. And people know that that's not the case, and they're watching it happen.
So what do you do about that?
Well, number one, I would follow the money. I really want to find out what is the financial backing that's coming into this. But beyond that, change your policies. Say we're not going to continue to reward illegal immigration. We'll still be compassionate, but if the federal government says you have to let a fentanyl dealer out of jail after 72 hours because he's a non-citizen, I say if our prisons are good enough for our citizens, they're good enough for non-citizens. You break the law in Utah, you can sit in a Utah jail, and if ICE doesn't like it, they're welcome to come and take those folks. Until we get a new administration, President Trump has said he will do a program of mass deportation. It's not discompassionate; it's compassionate to the people who are citizens, and that's what a governor needs is a federal government that will take a strong stance on that. We have the opposite going on now.
So another thing that comes up a lot, and this is what I hear from a lot of people: don't waste your vote on Lyman because he can't win. Right? How do you respond to that? I mean, we talked about polling a little bit later. What are you seeing, and how would you respond to someone who says that?
I would say this. I think Utah is about to see one of the greatest upsets in political history of the state. It's not common to beat an incumbent governor. Our polling data shows that we are neck and neck, and we've been gaining all along. We started out as an unknown. Every poll we've taken, and we take them every couple of weeks, we're gaining ground. And in some of the polls right now, we're surpassing those that are waiting till the last minute. God bless them for waiting. I know why they do it, because they don't trust the system. They're going to show up. Those are our people.
Yeah, turnout apparently is at an all-time low.
It's at an all-time low, and we're going to see a surge at the end, and that surge is going to be in our favor. But yeah, by the polls, we've got one that shows us a point ahead, one that shows us a point behind. But
this is your internal.
This is our internal polling.
So,
but all of
why
those
do you think that's
that.
not reflected in the Deseret News or Salt Lake Tribune? I mean,
Do you want to?
Oh, I don't know why it's not. This what I see is what we're doing every day. We're at campaign events all across the state, and we have massive support by people. We have the yard signs out. We have the social media. I mean, you look at the comments of positive comments we have on social media. We're just blowing things out of the water. So I don't know where the polling number's coming from, but that's not what we're seeing.
do you think we have? Do you think we have our own individual echo chambers, though? Do you think?
Oh,
that's,
absolutely. I would say the best poll that's been done in the state of Utah is the state convention. Mm-hmm. And historically, they say, well, the convention plays to one crowd, then the person that wins it doesn't have the resources to really go head to head after they get out of convention. We've had the resources. We've been spending the money on billboards and social media, and we've got a network of 2,000 active volunteers that are out there. So there's no aspect of our campaign where we just couldn't finish it. We're finishing strong. We've got incredible donors, incredible volunteers, and people are talking. And they're turning out and they're voting.
So how can you convince people that you've actually moved outside of that echo chamber? I mean, because you do have very passionate people behind you. They're all over social media. But how can you convince people that you've moved outside of that? For instance, seniors aren't on social media, right?
Right.
What would you say to them?
To those, to that group that's 65 and older, and it is interesting. There's a group of those that are very conservative, and the conservative people lean our direction. They do not see Spencer Cox as conservative. They see him as a disagree better, compassionate, nice person. Will tell you what you want to hear. They really see us as a conservative. Change the direction of the economy in Utah, change the direction of maybe that collusion and that elite economy, as they call it now, which the definition is that a few people are superior to all the others. We're all about a bottom up. The power dynamic for government should come from the people and work its way up. It should not be coming from the top down. They see me as somebody who will push back against the federal government, despite the cost that it might be. And as Natalie said, when parents were being prosecuted by their school boards, I was the one person that was writing letters to those school boards, going to the school board meetings, not just in my district, but all over, standing up for personhood, standing up for parenthood, standing up for statehood. And it's in the contract. It's part of the Constitution. Why we don't follow that is the mystery. And people are looking for an honest broker when it comes to government, and that's, I think we've demonstrated. We won't lie to them. We won't tell them what they want to hear. We're going to tell them the truth, because Utah has got such a great potential, and it's a fantastic state. People deserve to know the truth. They deserve to make their own decisions rather than have all those decisions concentrated at a central government level.
Well, it's great to have both of you here. I know we haven't had the pleasure of having you on, but why don't you each of you make a pitch? We're about out of time,
Okay.
So maybe you could just look at people out here and make a pitch.
Great. Yeah, thank you. You asked about polling. I'll just add to that. Our numbers are showing that if people have seen, heard, or read something about Phil Lyman, the approval number is very, very high. And so it's just a matter of going out, talking to your neighbors, letting people know that we have a better choice out here. And people are not happy with the direction that the state's been going these last 4 years. So let them know that we have Phil Lyman, that we have better roads ahead. We're very, very excited about it. So we just need people to get out and vote, and we can really see some big things happen. We're excited for Tuesday.
Yeah, and I would just say, and I've said this before, this isn't about the next election, it's about the next generation. And we're very earnest in our efforts on this. Some people thought when I started running, John, that this was just a protest run. It never was that. I would not have done this if I didn't think there was an open path and an open way to get there. thank you to all of those people who have taken part of this. It is going to be historic, and we're just excited for the future of Utah. Good things are coming.
Thank you very much, Phil Lyman,
Yeah.
Natalie
Thanks, John.
Clawson. Thank you for coming in.
Thank
You're
you,
awesome.
John.
Yeah, and we'll see you guys next week.